Good evening, everyone. Your Excellency, Ms. Ong Ye Kung, Minister of Education, your leadership and your vision in preparing Singapore's youth for a world in transition and an uncertain future is admirable. We're also very grateful to you for your steadfast support and for India-Singapore strategic partnership, and in particular, for the work you are doing for our skilling partnership. We are deeply, deeply honored that you have joined us here once again after 2018. To members of Parliament, Ms. Jessica Tan and Mr. Gan Thiam Po, thank you for joining us today. We're honored by your presence. To the Chief of Naval Staff of one of India's strongest defense partner, Rear Admiral Liew Chun Hong, Chief of Navy, Republic of Singapore, to Excellencies, my diplomatic colleagues, to friends of India and Singapore, to the world's most extraordinary Indian community, a very warm welcome to all of you for the 71st Republic Day of India. India was born into freedom on August 15, 1947. But we began our journey as a modern republic on 26 January 1950. That was the day when the Constitution of India, the longest written constitution in the world, came into force, carrying the ideals of our freedom struggle and the hopes and aspirations of a young nation. It has stood us well over these past 7 decades. It has guided our democracy. It has strengthened our federal system. It has nurtured our unparalleled diversity. It has guaranteed fundamental rights for everyone across every faith. And it has promised a life of opportunity, dignity, equality, and justice for the historically excluded. It has given voice to our people and resilience to our nation. And as we move forward, amid rapid changes both within and beyond, it will remain the guiding beacon for our nation, in which every citizen will be secure of her rights, comfortable about her place, and confident of her future. And just last year, in the month of April-May, India conducted the largest democratic election in history, when more than 600 million people cast their vote. The government led by Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi returned to office with a larger mandate on the strength of an impressive economic growth of over 7.5% over 5 years, and an unprecedented expansion in inclusion, empowerment, and access for ordinary citizens. Tens of hundreds of millions of Indians have got access to the world's largest digital public infrastructure, to banking, insurance, pension, to roof over their head, to sanitation, power, and electricity and gas. And now, with redoubled commitment and a reinforced solidarity, resolve, we are moving forward on our path to attain our goal of becoming a $5 trillion economy in the next 5 years, as we continue with our process and efforts of inclusion and universal access to the basic needs for all our people, build modern next-generation infrastructure, address the pain points of industry and citizens, invest in human resources, and create jobs for our people. With the strong economic fundamentals that we have, we are confident, despite the recent slowdown, that we will restore the momentum of growth and return to the long-term trend of growth in India of over 7% a year. And we will do this, and we will power our growth increasingly with clean energy. India today is the largest the fastest growing market for clean energy. And encouraged by the exponential expansion that we have seen in the recent past, we hope that in 2030, we will have more than 50% of our energy capacity from non-fossil fuel, more than 40% that we had given as our international commitment on climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, we also know that our future will be shaped not just by the scale of our economy, but also by the strength of our international partnerships. And in the past year, our international engagement deepened. And nowhere was this more visible than in the Indo-Pacific region and in our Act East policy. ASEAN will be at the center of our vision for the Indo-Pacific region, and Singapore, as always, will be integral to every endeavor of ours. And this was evident last September when we held the region's first Business and Innovation Summit in Prime Minister Modi's second term, with 4,000 participants, more than 100 speakers, and a very large startup exhibition from both India and Singapore. In the course of just last 6 months, we've had 12 ministerial visits from Singapore to India, including that of Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister Heng Swee Keat and Senior Minister Tharman Shanmugaratnam. Minister Ong Ye Kung himself made 2 visits to India, including one to join Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi for the second Singapore-India Youth Hackathon. And Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong was one of the 6 leaders from the world who was invited to address a special commemorative event in the United Nations General Assembly in New York in September to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi's birth. From India, too, we've had ministerial visits that cover external affairs, defense, commerce and trade, aviation, and urban development, and several delegations, including ministerial delegations from various states of India. Our defense partnership is among the strongest for both countries. And anchored in our annual defense ministers dialogue, in our permanent secretary level dialogue, in our exercises and staff talks across all 3 wings of the armed forces and the defense technology agencies, we've not only deepened our defense cooperation, but extended it into new areas. And we have also now broadened the framework of our cooperation into the region, starting with our first trilateral exercise with Thailand. And together, we continue to work to keep our cyberspace and our critical information infrastructure safe. Our trajectory of the economic partnership, in particular trade and investment, continues to grow, although we all agree that it is well below potential. Singapore emerged as the largest investor in India, and Indian companies continue to use Singapore as a base for their global and regional engagement. India contributes today the 3rd largest source of tourism into Singapore, and it is growing at double-digit rates, thanks to growing connectivity between our 2 countries, with over 500 flights in both directions per week. But it is the spark of innovation and technology that is igniting the rapidly growing partnership for the digital age. Our ecosystems are more deeply connected now. Our youth are working together more closely. We had the largest overseas participation in the Singapore FinTech Festival last year. Our payment systems are becoming interoperable. And together we are working to craft solutions based on India's stack to offer the possibility of inclusion and payment digitalization and digital governance to countries in the region and beyond. But ladies and gentlemen, it is the people-to-people ties and the cultural relations that are the heartbeat of our ties. Every day on the streets and in our homes, in places of worship and in the concert halls, we see the many threads that bind us. In the excellent celebrations of the 550th birth anniversary of Guru Nanak Dev Ji, in which Her Excellency President Halima Yaqub and Deputy Prime Minister Heng Swee Keat also participated, the 150th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi that was commemorated here with a series of events, the record-breaking celebration of the International Day of Yoga with 120 venues, the largest in any city in the world, and a calendar filled with some of the most magnificent cultural performances. These are the ties that affirmed our relationship of heart and soul. And all of this is possible because of this most extraordinary, talented, accomplished Indian community here, but also because Singapore creates an environment that nurtures it and that has turned this great city into a nursery of Indian culture. And tomorrow, to bring two great classical traditions together, we will have the great icon of Indian classical music, Maestro Amjad Ali Khan, in concert with Singapore Chinese Orchestra in a concert that is appropriately called Confluence. And ladies and gentlemen, two young Singaporean cricketers were hosted for a month in the National Cricket Academy in Bangalore in India, and we hope one day they will be the nucleus of a team from Singapore that competes in the Cricket World Cup. Honorable Minister, members of Parliament, distinguished guests, we are stepping into a new decade, but we're also stepping into a new world. It is a world and a time of historic transitions and disruptions, of weakening multilateralism, of eroding impact of global institutions, and of international law-based system under stress. The imperatives of Singapore-India partnership has never been stronger. Indeed, the future will ask more from us because we have so much in common, as much in history as in our shared vision for the world, as much in values as in our opportunities, and because our relationship, free from contests and claims, from doubts and hesitations, challenges us to seek more. And when we do more with each other, we will do more for the region and the world. That is the defining partnership of India-Singapore. The last decade saw the transformation of Singapore-India partnership. And what I have seen in the last 3 years, I'm confident that in this decade, we will both rise to our shared aspirations, which are very high, and to the even higher expectations that the others have from us. So thank you very much. And before I conclude, let me once again thank the Indian companies for their strong support for this that has made us possible to do this Republic Day reception on such a generous scale. So thank you very much. And after the national anthem of Singapore, I will propose a toast to the health and well-being of Her Excellency, Madam Halima Yaqub, President of the Republic of Singapore. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.